Welcome to Basic Mods. Obviously, we're going to be modding bases, but very basically. I am not an expert. I'm making it up as I go, and I just thought if I'm going to do it anyway, I might as well record it and then share it. Maybe it's helpful with some of you guys. So, this first mod, or a couple of mods that we're going to do, are actually three different things. It's three parts. One of the first things that we're going to do today, it's specifically with this bass that I have here. This is a Lakeland DJ4 that I just got. Great bass, I really love it, but it suffers, like most jazz basses do, from single coil hum, right, on the individual setup. Besides that, we're not going to fix that part just yet, but the other part of that is the wiring harness setup. So in a typical jazz bass setup, you have volume, tone. I'm not a big fan of that. I don't want to have to control kind of the individual volumes. So I'm going to swap that out with a volume blend tone wiring harness. This is pre-done. So again, if you are not huge on soldering, this is something also that I've done before. This comes from Fat Bass Tone. You can buy that online. It's already pre-done. You have to have very minimal soldering skills to actually drop in the two cables that you need to actually do for the pickups themselves, but otherwise super easy. I think this is a great shortcut to use things like this pre-wired harness loaded control plates when you are not super confident on the soldering part and you just don't want to kind of mess things up. So I'm going to do that today. We're going to swap out the harness and then some cosmetic things. I thought I would also like to do white pickup covers. Eventually we're going to swap the pickups out. Not today on the first one because I haven't gotten the pickups yet. They haven't arrived. But we'll do that in a separate video anyway. Today we're going to focus on the harness and maybe swapping out the covers. We'll see if they fit over the stock pickups that are there. In the second video, the other thing that we'll come back for is then we're going to do a Hipshot bass extender on the E string. This is something I put on all of my basses just because I would prefer not to always have to carry a 5-string. You can see here on my Charvel I have it. I have it on literally every bass that you see here and all the basses that you don't see. I think there's maybe a handful that I don't have Hipshot extenders on. But super easy things that any bassist can do. They're super basic, but they bring a lot of value. They can change the tone of your bass and make them super useful. And it's kind of fun, right? You don't want to have to pay somebody all the time to do little things like this. It can be expensive after a while. So let's jump into it and let's get started. So what you see here are things that I would leave on my desk that I probably would need during this, like a heat shrink, some foam for the bass to lay on, a little plate for screws, a neck cradle, tweezers, a wire cutter and stripper to pull back things, and obviously the soldering iron stuff. So just to show you quickly things that I leave out that I have used before and probably will need this time around. So first here, we're going to go ahead and take off all the screws. We're going to do this quick to get under the pick guard so that you can see what we're working on here. And we'll take the knobs off as well because we will have to take the pots out from the control plate. This is a very useful tool. You can get this online that helps you kind of loosen these up a little bit if you don't want to scratch the metal. This has been helpful so far. And removing the final screws here so that we can kind of pull everything off. You might notice that you'll see copper tape already within the cavities. I did work on this already once before, so you'll see that. I always put down this kind of fabric or towel or something like that, just is so the pots or anything I put down there doesn't scratch it. Trying to take care of it. And we're going to just do a quick comparison to the wiring harness here, so you can see it's basically the same, right? 3 and a jack, checking that they fit into the control pot. And now trying to plug in my soldering iron, which I have not done because I don't want to burn myself or burn down my house, so I don't plug it in until I need it. But that's what then takes up time now. So, letting it heat up, cleaning it off, we're going to try to remove the screws, or remove the wires rather. As you'll see though, I started to struggle, and I don't know if it was, this soldering iron is a bit weird from time to time, so like it will say that it's at 700, it will say it's at at the right heat, but it just won't work. And then I realized, yeah, I'm a bit dumb here. I should have just clipped the wires, which is what I would do in every other circumstance. I don't know why I jumped directly into the soldering iron, but I did. And then I remembered, hey, you don't need to do that. Here I'm kind of putting the wires together. I'm going to strip the ends first to leave a little bit of wire available so that when we're ready to do them and attach them to the pots, that we can do that pretty easily. Then I'm going to put together all of the ground wires eventually, because we do something a bit different here. Part of the copper shielding and part of this specific harness is the directions are to basically ground everything into the cavity. Okay, now we're getting to the part where we're going to take out the pickups themselves. I've also already shielded the cavities here, but what I did not do yet is run the shielding wire between the two cavities to the base plate cavity. Right, I'm going to check if they fit. This one seems to work just fine. Usually the bridge pickup is a little bit longer than the neck pickup, so I was just checking that out. It seemed to be okay. You'll see a little bit later. There's some drama there, but so here I'm running this extra wire that I will solder to the bottom of the cavity from one to the other, basically to ground it. I don't know if this is 100% right, but that's what I found online, so I'm trying it out. It could be wrong, could be right, but it seemed to make sense, so I went ahead and did that here. I soldered basically just a little bit of a wire from that side running through to the other side, hopefully to try to stop any extra noise. The shielding already helped a lot from when I first picked up the base. It really was super noisy when I first got home, and to be honest, it's not always the base. Sometimes it's just the electricity in your house, whatever signals around. When I played it at the store and other places, I didn't have any noise. I didn't notice that. When I got home, it was pretty noisy. So it's not always the base, but you can do things like this. Shielding is pretty simple. And now I'm just putting this back. I've run the wire. I made sure to set it up. I've soldered it also into the other cavity, and then we're going to move on to this next part where it's going to get super dramatic very quickly. So now we've put this in, we're going to pull this out. The first thing that we notice when we take out this neck pickup is, of course, I'm trying to make sure that the actual plastic cover fits. And so I put it on, seems to fit, but I could not get it in right away. It seemed to be a bit tight. No matter what I did. I had some other ones. It came with actually 2 sets of them, so here I'm just trying out the different sets, and then eventually I was able to find one that fit. I don't know if it was just getting stuck maybe on the copper tape that I used for the shielding, but it was a problem. And then right about here, probably, I think, is where we run into the issue. I broke the lead. I broke the hot lead from the pickup to the electronics. Oh my gosh, what a fail.
Fatality.
So here, jumping ahead to when it got better, I've fixed the lead. I was able to resolder it back and make sure that it works. So now we're going to go ahead and move on with the wiring itself. Of course, it could be that it's a massive fail later. We'll have to test it, and we will test it. So now we just need to connect the 2 hot leads. So each of the pickups has basically a ground, which is black, and then a hot lead that can be red or green. In this set, other times they're both red. It might be white and red or something like that, but typically black is ground. And they just have to be added to these to this center pot. Basically, the bridge goes to the top, the neck goes to the bottom. It's a stacked pot for the blend. Right, so that we don't need 2 separate volume pots. We just have the 1 volume pot, and connecting it. Now I'm putting the ground into the side. I've basically soldered that to this to that little metal piece that allows me then just to screw it into the side, into the base plate. And I'm gonna quickly just put everything together because, as I said, I want to test it. Because I made the mistake of breaking the lead, it can totally be that it doesn't work. This would be the opportunity that I would then have to swap that out. I have spare parts. I have some spare jazz pickups that I could swap one in if I needed to, but I wanted to check. So I put it together. Here you can see I struggled and I was like, forget it. All right, I need to go and bolt the wires through. And I did that in order to get it back into place and then put everything back together. I'm putting just 1 screw in basically to test if it works or not, right? So we can quickly plug it in. We can play with the electronics. Here I even realized that I put the electronics in the wrong order, but nevertheless we can still test it, and here we are now testing it, and it's working. So we can see, you can hear all that lovely noise when we're not in dual mode, or actually when we have both pickups activated. but it works. We have now everything put together. The electronics are back in. So now we have here volume, blend, and tone. So then instead of having volume for each of these, I have one master volume, and then I can pick between the two pickups. I would leave it in the middle most of the times anyway. It would be very rare, especially because, let's see, so right now it's pretty quiet. You don't hear much. I'm just going to play it from the room amp, but I mean, if I have it in the center, it's fine. If I turn even the tone all the way up, it's still pretty quiet, right? But the second we split the coil, or the second we take it off the center, you hear it come up, right? We can get rid of some of it if we turn the tone all the way down, but not always a solution, right? So in the center, quiet. So we've done it. It's working. Let's give it a play. Earlier today, I had played this Wolfman song on the Mustang. Let's try it on this one right now that this is installed, just to hear what it sounds like. Let's do it.
Too slow. Saw you and it only took a second for me to know. Hey. That I want you bad. Tell you before you go. See you knew. I swear there's something so familiar. I've known you all this time. Got to be mine.
Okay, and that's it. So we changed the wiring harness with a couple hiccups, but nothing too dramatic. I also had some spare stock jazz pickups from Squire or a Fender from some time ago, but also because I'm changing these pickups to the dual coil to get rid of that hum. At some point, it wasn't also the biggest deal, but you can see that in that instance, I was still able to fix it, basically by resoldering the lead back into the port of the pickup itself. So it's fine. It worked. Not an ideal situation, and I know in any other circumstance and other times, if I would have done that and it was not the first time I did it, I would have freaked out. But as I've done that before and I've been able to fix it, it's not the end of the world. It does work, and it's okay. And that's it. Hopefully it was helpful. If you liked it, subscribe, follow me, ask me questions. I'm just making it up as I go. I'm just the normal guy having fun on bass, trying to do some things here with the tech stuff, trying to fix and be able to take care of basses and things like that. Something that I think every bassist should be able to do. Maybe not want to do it, but should be able to do it. Also from the perspective that you know what goes into it if you have somebody else fix it, right? Like when somebody tells you they want a ridiculous amount of money to fix something, and you're like, but I don't understand it. Not to say that it's not worth it. Of course it's worth it to have something done by a professional who's skilled and has lots of experience, way more than I have, or maybe more than you have, but it's good to know, right? That way you know what is being done, you know what questions to ask, and maybe you can still do it on your own and save a couple bucks in the process. So yeah, until next time, stay classy.